Okay, so yeah. So today in this session we will be focusing on, or I will be talking on unpopular features of Angular. So mainly, Angular is vast in terms of learning, because it has many things, but I don't think so most of the things have been completely utilized by a developer up to its extent. So I will be in this session, I will be pointing to those things which you may not be touching up, or you may not be utilizing up to it, up to its greatest power. So a little bit about myself. I'm Pankaj Parkar, currently working at Aeon as a principal application developer. I was MVP and also pretty much active on Stack Overflow. And yeah, I do run. I like to run. I try to run 100 km per month, and I have one OSS library ngx lib, so I do maintain it as well. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on handle Pankaj Parkar on GitHub and Twitter. So let's get back to the session. So in this session, what I try to do is I try to map use cases with the feature, so that we can able to link them properly, and we can understand that feature in better way. So first thing is, it's a very simple thing, or maybe not simple thing, but the complicated thing: route based dialogues. If you are into implementing this feature, there are multiple ways to do it. But do you know Angular has some feature by using which you can utilize this route based dialogues, implement the right route based dialogue feature. So mainly, what the thing is, your dialog should be navigatable, meaning if I give you an URL and you just paste it in the browser, it should open up a dialog. Okay, so how would we do that using Angular feature? So any guess? Okay, so auxiliary routes is the feature that came to a rescue. So this is kind of thing that has been introduced, baked in inside Angular router itself, API, Angular router API. And let's see how we can implement this. So suppose this is my app component HTML. It has few things, like I have a navbar at the top. So this is main layout page you can think of. Then the content, which is router outlet. And you will see some different kind of element, which is router outlet with name attribute. Some people call it name router outlet. Okay, so what to do with this? So I say that the name of the router outlet is model. Okay, so what will happen and how we can utilize this? So let's look at a configuration of our routing, how we have done it. So the REST routing can be same as what you used to do, but I can utilize the feature of auxiliary route, or the named router outlet, is by specifying configuration like this. I will specify what is the path, then component name, and then something else which is outlet, where it will be target to. So I want two models basically. One is login and the other one is details. So those has been specified as an extra parameter in the route configuration outlet model. Okay, pretty much we are close to implementation. Then how to use this, how this will work? Okay, so we will get to that. But first thing, about router configuration, whenever it comes to any route, we have to navigate to them, right? Generally on UI, we use router link directive. So how we can navigate to this model? Simply, we are going to use router link directive, but we are not going to pass a string, which is a URL. But over here, we can pass a outlets parameter. You know, there are some more parameter like query parameters, segments, and whatnot. We are going to target this outlet, and then we will say which outlet we are targeting to. So I'm going to target an outlet which is model, and then what is the route that we want to open? So when I want to navigate to login, I will just say login. So basically, somehow internally Angular will scan and will help us to open this login component in the pop-up, something like that. Okay, so that was the whole idea. How things got simplified with Angular baked in functionality. This can be done in multiple ways as well, but I feel this is bit easier than the other approaches. Okay, so how it will happen. So once the login component is loaded, we have to open a model from it. So basically what would happen is a login component will open a login dialog pop-up, and that will be simple, a standalone component, and it will open up. Okay, so I have a demo running beside in other Chrome window. So let me zoom in a little bit and let me close all the files. And so this is simple app, and I created few pages, and once we visit it, we will see each feature and what's the feature of Angular API we have used. So first one is um, how we have implemented the login. So I have kept one login button at the top in the nav bar. So once I click it, see what happens. It opens a model, and the very good thing about this is, if I sorry, yeah, if I copy this URL and open it into the new browser, let me zoom it a little bit, maybe. Okay, yeah, see, it opened the pop-up. Okay, so what happened? How Angular kept a track of a particular route and how this has opened. So basically, if you look at route closely, did you see something else? Like it added some parameter. Like let me copy this route and what happened here. In the URL itself, it become like this: a dashboard, then question, in parenthesis it's a model is what? Model is outlet, and then a login path. And that is how the combination worked, and somehow Angular router get to know what what things of route has to be targeted and opened up. So this is how the auxiliary route feature will help you to make your dialog linkable or navigatable, so people can basically bookmark the dialog as well. Yeah, so that was one of the feature that we just looked at. So let me close this tab and this one as well quickly. Don't save. Let's navigate back to the slides. Okay, so what else? Now, access parent component from the child component. Have you came across such use case? I think ideally we should not access the parent component details from the child component. But you can come across some situation or edge cases where you need a information from some third party component or a third party library or a service, where I mean, yeah, technically it is not a, a good approach to do it, but in some cases we may have to do it. So how we can do that? And suppose, let's take one example to visualize it better. Suppose I have one component and it has a HTML. Okay, and what that HTML has is it has mat card, and of course header, content, and at the footer, meaning mat card actions, there is one component called as child component, which is situated. And the child component looks like this. Now, for some edge case reason, the child component wants to access data of a parent component, which could be a card, which is a publicly accessible property. Okay, so how would we do that? Any guesses? So yeah, so the thing is, you can easily do this with two approaches. One approach is, of course, it is going to achieve by DI. So one quick approach could be a host decorator. Okay, so what would happen is, inside your child component, you can add or inject a parent component class itself. And what would happen is, after specifying host meaning, it's we know host, right? Host is a we if any component is rendered, the selector that HTML has a selector, sorry, the component has a selector, we call them as a host. So over here the host has a little different meaning. So if we go back a little bit and look at the HTML of this, so this child component is hosted inside what? the child to parent access, meaning some parent component basically. So for child component, the host will be this. So whenever we see @host decorator, it will try to scan the dependency exactly one step up, or exactly up to the parent of a parent injector, and it will try to find uh, dependency inside that context only. If it is not found, since I wrote optional, it will fail silently. If you don't write this, it will throw an error. And once it get that property, it will you can access the public properties out of it. So this is one of the way. Yeah, we are going to look at the demo in few minutes, but what is the other way to do this? Other way can be a normal DI injection. You just have to inject a parent component property inside your component, and you can get access to it. But in this case, when we say @host, we were specifically targeting to the parent context only. But when you do this only just injection, it can go up to the root. You can also specify app component here as well, which is not good ideally. So I would recommend, if you want to specifically do something, do this do I with @host. You will be specifically targeting to specific context. I just show this approach just to just to visualize what exactly could be happening if you do that. But yeah, this is the recommended approach. So basically, mainly @host has been used internally in Angular in different forms API to deal with parent form and all those stuff. So let's see this action in a demo. Okay, let me close this, and okay, dashboard. And so basically I have oh sorry, child to parent, yeah. So basically I have this component, and I told you, right, I placed one component at the footer of the card. So this is the component. Okay, let's look at a code little bit. The code is here, and this is the parent component. Okay, that we looked into the slide, and we just added a line @host and this thing. And as soon as we have it there, we we can see that the console log will be printing the parent component itself, and which is already here. So by this way you can get access to the parent component public properties. Generally this is not recommended, but in some edge cases you might need to do that. So this feature you can utilize also. Let's move on to the slide again, and let's see what's next. So this is very general thing. This is kind of related to the what we have done in the last point. Um, so extend existing third-party directive or component. So for example, if you are using prime ng component or AG grid or whatnot, generally what people used to do is they write a wrapper around that directive. And again, what we do in that case, we again write all the input properties, all the output properties, and we add two level, I would say in that way we added two level kind of maintenance, like we are maintaining it ourselves, though the things are already there inside the third party API. So what could be the good way? So over here, let's take an example of mat paginator. I just want to display the mat paginator, and I need to at least provide this attribute in my project. So mainly page length and page size and whatnot, and it display like this. But I need to use this at multiple places, but over the time what I have observed is these three properties are kind of repetitive. Each time whoever is using this, they have to repeat it multiple times. You can write a wrapper directive and do that, but what could be the better way? So yeah, directive can come into the rescue for you. So this is the I mean, maybe how directive can help, but this is the other power of directive. Like you can write one directive with the same name called as mat paginator. Okay, and interestingly, you can just inject paginator dependency inside your component. So you know what we just looked at? You just inject a mat, since you inject mat paginator, it will look up for dependency from current context all the way up to root. So this will find mat paginator, and the next thing will be, what we will be doing, we will be adding the default properties from ourselves, like the mat paginator show first and last button true, and again whatnot, the page size option, those two things. And the third one was kind of attribute. So for that, we just refer to element ref property, di injection, and then we host binding, and we manipulated the property value. And this way you got the benefit of not wrapping up the directive, but you just wrote an extension of directive, and whenever you want to use it, you just import it inside your component wherever you want to use it. If you want the 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 exact behavior or the original behavior of your mat paginator, then don't include this. That's it. So that is the way you can opt in and opt out the functionality. So let's look at the demo of this. So let me go back to the dashboard, and so this is the example. Okay. Let me open the code. Extend. So this is the simple code which we just saw. Okay, and I'm just going to I'm just going to do this, and let's see. Can you see the difference between two components? Right now I specify mat paginator like this with three properties, and the other one does not have three properties. As soon as I opt in for a directive, which I wrote just now, they both will look similar. Correct. So this is how you can, go about overriding the behavior of directive or component of third-party library. Okay. Moving on to the next point. Uh, okay. So this is quite interesting. Template variable, what exactly it is. So let's take a look at this example. So this is a button, simple button. And when I say hash button on that template, it refers to that element. Okay. So the main thing is, since mad button has been applied on the element, what happens? When we try to pass this button element or button template variable inside any event, what will happen? It will point to mad button object of the of the element, and you won't be, and in some situation we are not interested in accessing the original class instance, but we are interested in DOM really. So the way to access the DOM, what we have to do, we have to go to the component, do view child, and then maybe using view child we can target to mad button or a hash button and just say take out element ref out of it. But yeah, is there any other way to do that, or that can simplify the thing? Again, the directive export as feature can come to the rescue for this. So how to do that, how we can achieve that? To do that simply, like, what we can do, we can just define one directive called as use ref, and that directive will be standalone. Sorry, I forgot to mention export as property here. Export as true. So export as uf use ref, and inside the component it will be very simple. It will just inject the property. I will show you into the code what exactly this code is. So basically we will inject the element ref and just focus on the native element. So what will happen on the html? In html, mainly we will say the directive name, and when we want to extract the DOM of it, we just say button is equal to uf user ref. So whatever this directive instance says, we can access that, and when it comes to passing it, we can use that DOM. So let's look at the demo directly. I have some mistake on the slide, so sorry about that. Let's go back to the dashboard, and I'm clicking on this link. So mainly if we go to the component code template, okay, so template variable, so we use ref and use ref as a directive. When we click on the DOM, we get button. Okay, so let's see what's exactly inside a button. When I click on it, can you see the button is now having a DOM property? Okay, so in case if you want to pass a DOM, you just need to write, you can just write a DOM itself, and um, you can directly get access to the DOM and you can pass it wherever you need it. You don't need to do view child and whatnot. So export as is really good feature. You might have used it for a validation while dealing with the forms errors to export ng model, ng form, and whatnot. The similar thing can be utilized at different places. So that was the example. And let me show you the directive code which I have added here. So the line that was missing here was export as, and I'm exporting this directive itself, which will expose the public property of the instance of directive. That's why we were able to access DOM property. Okay, moving on to the last thing, uh, um, which is the related to, wait a minute, okay, ngDestroy hook in Angular service. So I'm not going to, maybe this is the known feature, but I have seen in multiple code reviews that people are not utilizing this feature. So thought of sharing that as well. So in some cases, our services are not provided in root. They will be provided on particular level of hierarchy. Okay, in that case, suppose your service is doing some asynchronous operation. Suppose in interval it is trying to do something. So for example, here on line number 8, service is doing something as soon as it instantiated, and it tries to print a count again, count after 1 second each time. And what happens is, once you leave that component that you have injected you have inside a providers array, you will see that this service will be still active, and that is where you got memory leak or you got some problem to deal with. So how to deal with this kind of scenario? In component we have ngDestroy hook. So similarly, Angular service also have a ngDestroy hook, where you can just keep a reference of that interval, and as soon as you are moving away from that page, the providers the component where you wrote a providers and register the log service, it will make sure that the things are cleaned up or tear down on the instance of moving away. So I think these are the main things that I have jotted down and I want to share with you. I hope you will dig through this and you will see where you can apply these features inside your project itself. So thank you for listening, and yeah, thanks for having me, Addy.